We'll call this meeting to order. You want to call the roll?
Logston.
Here.
Kinsey.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Turner.
Here.
Mossberg.
Here.
All present.
Next item is recognition of the visitors. And I don't know all the names, so
And I don't know all of them. I know we've got
Max McDermott.
Max McDermott, Jordan Dunham,
April
April Mills,
Aaron Harris.
Aaron Herron, Tyson Tucker, Bob Baker. I don't know this
Jason Costanza.
Jason Costanza,
John Weaver.
John Weaver,
Logan Jones.
Logan Jones,
Deanna Murray.
Deanna Murray.
Caitlin Frey.
Okay.
okay.
And Mary.
And Mary.
Yeah.
Kind of hidden.
Next item, number 4, consideration and action to approve the minutes of February 12th. Everybody had a chance to read over those.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes February 2nd, 2018.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? If not, take the roll.
Who seconded? I apologize.
Mossberg.
Thank you. All right. Parker,
Yes.
Mossberg,
Yes.
Turner,
Yeah.
Kinsey,
Yeah.
Logston.
Yes. Next we'll go to item 5, reports. City Council reports first.
Well, we had our annual budget retreat a week ago Saturday. Paul was there, Greg was there, I was there, and pretty good meeting. Overall, the city is anticipating a slight increase in sales tax revenues, and even if they're level with this year, that's not going to be a bad year overall. Talked extensively about capital budget requests. Council's going to meet next week for its regular meeting, and other than that, I don't have anything to add. Jodan, is there anything else from a council standpoint that needs to be added?
Not at this point.
Happy to answer any questions.
Do you have anything? If not, we'll go on to the manager's report.
As you can see, February's fuel sales were really good, especially for a short month. Total $15,607.69. We had 38 transient fueling operations, 25 local, and 117 customer interactions for February. Happened the sun was here on the 27th to repair the shingles that were blowing off on the terminal roof. And then on March 6th, the wind came up again and blew a couple more off. So they will return and patch that. Let you know Dale Logston has rented hangar number 8 in the new building for a week or more, starting on March 9th. Bring some information about Oklahoma Environmental Services. I was contacted by them as it was time to renew our agreement. They provide the statistical inventory reconciliation that's required by the Oklahoma Corporation Commission. They're now offering to bill us yearly at a 10% discount instead of quarterly, as we do currently. Since this would present a savings to the airport, in my opinion, it was agreed to do so. They also now offer services that we have done by other vendors, such as the annual line tightness tests, leak detector service, as well as the 3-year cathodic protection tests that are done on our underground tanks. After doing some cost comparisons with our current provider, it was found to be a savings to the airport, and I've agreed to have OES provide these services. A savings of $50 per line for the line tightness test, and approximately a $400 savings for the cathodic protection test, as well as savings on mileage charge anywhere from a nickel a mile up to 50 cents a mile compared to our current providers. They're also offering a 30-day walkthrough inspection for spill prevention equipment, checking release detection equipment, checking containment sumps, inspecting all ports and access points, looking for corrosions, checking fittings, hoses, breakaways, and review and confirm release detection records are current. This is a new requirement established by the Corporation Commission that will go into effect on October 1st this year. It's a $65 per inspection charge plus mileage, and I've agreed to have OES provide the service as well. It was my belief that one or more of these inspections can be provided in one trip, thus saving mileage charges. So I think it's a good deal all the way around. Just to let you know, the annual conference for the OAOA will be in Tulsa this year from April 29th to May the 2nd.
Anybody have anything for the manager?
I had a pilot tell me that the Bassy lights were out on the south end of the runway.
They are, and I tried to reignite them today, and I can't figure it out. They've done this before. They'll go out for a couple of days and then they'll come in. I've had someone come out and check them before. They can't find anything on them.
So you're on top of it.
Yeah, I'm aware, yes.
Since you were going to be talking about the turf runway today, I was going to tool over there and take a look at some things. I went around the north end of the runway on the grass and around, and I saw a huge pile of limbs off on the northwest corner. Do you know anything about that? Or?
Yeah, we tried to burn those off last year and couldn't get them to burn. I tried again this year. And it's pretty dry right now. I don't know if I'd want to try it right now.
Right, so we don't haul them to the city dump?
We do now, yeah.
Right, so we don't want to haul those, we're going to burn
From
those?
a couple of years ago. I've been there for a couple of years.
One of the reason you have such clear zones around the runway is so you don't have any habitats for animals. And that's one of my concerns about that. Not that but, you want to eliminate anything possible like that. And I sure hate for FAA or anybody to come in and see something sitting there that could.
Other than having someone come and haul them off, I don't know.
Well, how'd they get
What
there?
they're gonna do about it. I guess they just grew up over time.
People were running onto the airport and throwing limbs over there?
Whoever, I've hauled some out there before because there was a pile there when I started.
But that's something we need to
I thought that
address.
was done.
No, I wasn't aware. I was rather surprised to see it
And I
there.
was aware, made aware it's in a obstruction-free zone, so we tried to burn them off last year.
All right.
We couldn't get them to burn. Burned a bunch of grass, but not the thing.
Well, I'd be concerned about creating a fire on the airport that could provide smoke to be an obstruction to aircraft though. All right. As long as you're aware of it, you're going to deal with it.
I'll see if I can get it, take care of, maybe get them hauled off.
All right.
Anybody else have anything for the airport manager? If not, we'll go to item 6, update for Wings Over the Prairie Air Show. And we'll have April do that.
Here's your guys' updated stuff. We've been pretty busy. Keeping Paul busy and Greg busy. There you go. Okay, we talked about the shirts, we talked about the fact that the airport employees will have a bright colored shirt on so that the pilots will be able to determine before they get here the color of shirts to look for. One color will be like I said, the airport personnel, the other ones will be the ones that they need to get a hold of for different things. I think we're gonna go with like a neon color so that they can be spotted very easy, is kind of what we had decided about. We decided on the design for which is what's on the cover page. That's gonna be what each one of the pilots will put in their windows, fill out the information, so people can see, and that will also be where they get the information to do their voting on the ballots. We have 22 categories for the best of show, which is also in there. I've called and left 3 messages with Kevin and Frederick about the DC plane. We're going to get some more messages to him. Paul also got the go-ahead on the PT-23 and the UC-78 coming in on Saturday to give rides from 8:30 to 4. Two of the businesses in town are gonna underwrite them. We're gonna need to supply about 40 gallons of fuel for them to come up here, so. I sent out the letters to everybody on the airport last week advising of all the activities that we've set up. I also told them that we would keep them abreast of what was going on as it got a little bit closer. We'll send out some more letters. We left phone numbers and emails if anybody had any kind of questions at all, that they could give us a call. I went to the tourism board in February, and they thought it was a really good idea, and they went ahead and granted us $15,000 towards the show. So we've probably got almost $25,000 that we've had spoken to go. So we're coming along with that. We've come up with the donor levels, which is in there also for the companies that want to go ahead and get sponsored, wants to sponsor with the signs and stuff that we're going to put up around the airport. Starts at $500, goes all the way down to $50, I believe, maybe $75. We've had several businesses that have shown interest in that. So next week I'm going to hit some more up and see what kind of signs we can get going. We did talk about, at our last meeting, Paul and Alex and Greg and I, we talked about getting a big sign, whichever way it comes in, that welcomes the ladies into Alva, so that they can see that when they're landing. So that was one of the things that we talked about. I've also sent out the email to the radio stations about doing remotes. I haven't heard back from them yet. I think that's about it.
You guys have any questions for April?
I had a question on that letter you sent out. Did you say there were gonna be vendors and stuff down in the plain plastics hangar?
Yes.
So this is gonna be the main area for everybody?
Well, it's gonna kind of go
I
the
just
whole.
didn't know, walking that far or?
Well,
how
and
it's
we've
gonna work
talked about having like a little shuttle
out.
back and forth, and with the planes parked in there, there should be planes kind of parked. If everything goes like it's supposed to be, we'll have plenty of planes that are about to be walking in, and it won't be a big deal.
Most everybody's gonna be gathered right here.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of it, but we've got Rosenvisors is coming in, Sims Paint's coming in, Hope and Trade Plane will come, Soundex, we've got some of the bigger ones that are coming, CJ Aviation hopefully is coming, his daughter doesn't graduate that weekend, they'll be here, so that's kinda where we're sitting with that, but we have talked about doing the shuttle,
Alright.
so. Got it.
Any other
Thanks, guys.
questions, April?
Thank you.
Okay. We'll go on to item number 8. Item number 7. I had this put in there because I didn't know if there was any action or any input that they needed from the airport as far as decisions that we need to make. But is anybody aware of any? If not,
April, there's nothing
Oh, I'm
we need to
sorry.
take action on right now, is there, to help make sure that everything,
Um,
so far we're,
If you guys are all good with everything, I think we're good with everything, aren't we,
Okay.
Paul?
we'll want to table that and include it on the next meeting.
I think we can continue to have a report and possible action if needed in future meetings.
Okay. Do I need a motion to table that?
No, there's just no action taken.
Just no action taken?
Yeah.
Okay. Next we'll go on to item 8, discussion and action on the remodel of the terminal building.
Well, I did provide you with a synopsis of, I think, all the questions that you were asking from the last meeting. Pretty much you are looking at three different costs, one from $4,805.81 all the way up to $790. Types of, to answer some of the specific questions, was that it's the type of material is going to be the same as what's in place or better. We're looking at anywhere from we're looking at getting started from any of the vendors as soon as weather permits, and looking at anywhere, depending on the vendor, anywhere from 1.5 a week to a week and a half to 3 weeks getting completion for completion. Either Valspar or Sherwin-Williams paint will be used for any painting. And customer choice on the color. Try to answer any questions that you may have. They're all pretty comparable. Other than that, they're all pretty comparable as far as the product, with the type of work they're going to be doing. I think I outlined everything in my memo to you.
Dale, can I ask a question? For the guests here, could someone explain what's getting remodeled?
Where there's some rotting boards around the outside perimeter of
So it's exterior.
exterior, yeah, it's exterior.
And so I think there's there's a little bit of interior work to be done around the windows.
Yeah, a little bit,
Okay.
some rotting wood.
Painting, painting the building,
Yes.
painting the building
Yeah.
on the exterior.
Any board members have any questions of Joe Don or discussion?
Does the city have any experience with any of these vendors?
No, the city has not worked with any of these vendors.
I've worked with A to Z. They'll do a good job. I don't know, I can't say about the others. A to Z definitely does, the best way to put it, they've recommended a different but better material for, what they're talking about doing, and they'll put more coats on, they'll probably, all that. Our determination is it worth doubling the price?
You repainted this place about 3 years ago. Where does it,
It was the year I started, it was almost 6 years.
about 6 years ago, but no.
Do you remember who did it then?
Beg pardon?
Do you remember who did it then?
It was Rosalie, can't remember her last name, and I contacted her, and she wasn't interested in doing it. Can't remember her last name.
Alton?
Yeah. That's it.
Any other discussion or questions? Not entertain a motion from someone.
How about we approve Shaylee's painting on the basis that we've had some information on experience with him?
What's that information? Did you hear me, Terry? I was asking what you heard on experience with them.
What did you just talk about?
Oh, that was A to Z that I was talking about.
Who is they, which one is they, is he?
$12,790.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I'll let my motion stand.
What are our requirements, Joe Don? If we don't pick the lowest, we have to have a reason.
What's the reason for the best? They'll start, they'll be finished, at least up to a week and a half before the others. If that is the way you wanna go, which, if that's a priority, that would make it the best. They're certainly gonna be done the fastest, according to their information.
Any discussion?
familiar with Shady Lee's, or are you familiar with the one that you recommended?
No, I'm not. I misunderstood him. But just from reading it all, it talks about priming and sanding. I don't see any priming on this side. Or,
I move to approve Shady Lee's painting, $5,600, as the lowest best bid based on time frame for completion and scope of work.
Second.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion in a second. Call the roll.
Parker,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Mossberg,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Logston.
Yes. Next item, we'll go on to item 9, discussion and action on purchase of a jump start unit for aircraft use. And I believe the airport has already purchased a jump pack to do that.
I purchased a 24-volt battery charger, same exact one as I borrowed from Mr. Baker for that plane that was dead at the fuel pump. Same exact, it's a battery charger, but it's capable of 24 volts.
Okay. Any discussion or action on that item?
For $260, I didn't think it would be hard to beat.
If we have no action, then we can go on to the next item. Discussion and action regarding the sodding of the turf runway. I think we had agreed at a previous meeting about sprigging it. And I think it was my mistake of putting sodding to be put on the agenda, but we'd actually talked about sprigging it. And, you know, we can't do it right now, but I think we need to get started on deciding and maybe getting bids on getting somebody lined up, see what it will cost. When it rains someday, maybe we can get that accomplished.
I did have a gentleman from Johnson Seed Company come by and bring his business card. I don't know if they do sodding or sprigging. I don't know if they do sprigging or not, but he wanted to toss his hat in the ring in case you decided to seed it.
I agree with Dale. Let's go ahead and get some prices to have it sprigged.
Sprig,
Yeah.
okay.
I've noticed there's a guy that's advertising down in Cleo Springs. And I'm sure there's others around.
Do you recall the name? Or
I don't remember the name right, but I can get
It's
it.
Dean Reimer.
Dean Reimer from Ringwood, he's probably the biggest and best.
Okay.
How do you spell his last name?
Reimer, isn't it?
Yep. From Ringwood, Oklahoma. He's usually got his equipment up here most of the spring.
Yeah.
R-I-E.
So,
I'll try and get 3 different ones.
We can get you his
see what you
contact
can
number.
try. See what you can come up with. And then we can,
I believe that's close to 10 acres, isn't it? In that ballpark, seems like one.
it's 2,376,000 square feet.
Say that again, Bill?
No, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. It's, yeah,
390.
it's 2,376,000 square feet. I can figure that out.
I know it's 200 by 2,000, isn't it?
It's 43,000 square feet
560.
per acre.
560.
43,560 per square feet per acre.
2 million what?
376,000?
Yep.
About a little bit less than 10 acres.
Can we have him go ahead and get bids?
Yeah, I think we need to put that out for bids or quotes from people, and then we can we can act on it on the next meeting. So do we have any action on that item, or just do we not have action?
We don't have
Skip
to have
over.
action. It doesn't have to be action.
Okay, we don't have any action on that item. So we can go on to the next item. Item 11, we're gonna jump over that for the time being and come back to that later. Let's go into item 12, discussion and action to enter into executive session. Pursuant to 25 OS 307B1 to discuss the employment, hiring, appointment, promotion, demotion, discipline, or resignation of Greg Murray, Airport Manager.
Chairman, I move we enter into executive session pursuant to 25 Oklahoma Statute 307B1 to discuss the employment, hiring, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, or resignation of Greg Murray, Airport Manager.
Second.
A motion and second, call the roll.
Parker,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Mossberg,
Yes.
Logston,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Okay, I'll need,
I'll move down. You're right.
okay, we're back in regular session. Go to item 14, action. There is no action by the board on item 14. We'll go back and take up item 11 that we skipped over, discussion and action on employee reorganization and the addition of one employee, one full-time employee.
Did you distribute updated information?
I emailed them the updated information, but yeah, we do need to provide them with that.
Here's the updated spreadsheets.
Okay.
And basically what this spurred from is actually it's probably about a month ago now. Greg had a lengthy illness, had the flu, and as everybody knows, this past flu season, it took about 5 days to get over that. At the same time, we had because of being the part-time nature, and our part-time employee had other commitments for part of the week. It was difficult to get him here. He did get injured off duty, and which prevented him for a couple of more days, which then in turn left the airport unstaffed. I did have to bring in an employee from another department out to at least tend to the airport. He had very limited instruction on equipment or anything else. My proposal is that we would have 2 full-time employees at the airport to ensure that we are covered 100% of the time, the way I feel the board wants us to be covered. It does show it would require us to basically be overlapped on employees, probably 3 days a week. But I don't see that as a huge issue because especially during the mowing season, with once the grasses grow on the new turf runway, I think there's going to be plenty of work to be done during those 3 days for 2 people. I mean, it'll take 2 people just to keep up with the mowing, especially if it's a wet season. Now, I know we're not looking at a wet season right now, but we hope that happens. So, I mean, it would just ensure that we are covered 100% of the time. It would be easier to pull in somebody for a couple of days than try to pull in somebody for a week if I've got to pull somebody from another department to come out here again. But I wouldn't, if we've got 2 full-time employees, I see that happening even less. Part of the problem, I think, with having a part-time employee is because when you have a competent part-time employee, they're either looking for a full-time job or they're working more than one part-time job to make ends meet. And then you're limited to just the hours that they're here to work. I don't know that we've had 2 part-time employees in the past, and it was difficult to keep them with enough hours to keep competent employees. That's another reason I chose the route of going with 2 full-time employees. It does increase our costs. We eliminated a part-time position, but we do add a full-time position with benefits. The other aspect that I wanted to at least make everybody aware of is that based on my interpretation of what the board would like to have as far as after hours fueling of airplanes, I know it doesn't happen a lot, but to ensure that we have an employee here after hours to fuel airplanes, we would need to have implement an on-call policy. Now, the city does have an on-call policy. It requires that the person be on call for 24/7, 7 days a week, while he's got the city cell phone. And he is to respond within 45 minutes of getting a phone call. It's the same on-call policy that we utilize for the water department and other departments inside the city. Now, my understanding of what the board would like to have happen as far as the fueling of aircraft after hours is wrong. You just need to let me know. And then we'll try to have somebody here if we have somebody available, but having somebody available would not be a guarantee. Because we can't control what they're doing after hours, after their regular work hour is done, unless we are specifically setting aside time, legally compensating them for that, for being around and answering that phone.
So you have on your proposal number 1, you have that on-call incentive, the money split evenly between the attendant and the manager. Is that like 1 week on, 1 week off?
Yep, I'd interpret that as being 1 week on, 1 week off.
And you say respond within 45 minutes, does that mean leaving to come here or be on site?
Be on site.
Is 45 minutes the standard for the rest of the city?
Yes, that is our policy.
I think it ought to be different for the airport. I don't think 45 minutes is acceptable.
The job description that you created for or someone created for the airport attendant, how was that developed?
It was taken back. I went back and found our old part-time attendant position that we had for the attendant position we had for part-time, and just modified it slightly and made it put in there for a full-time position instead of a part-time. But that was a job description that we had in place. We've had in place for at least 5 years. I probably put that together back when probably one of the first part-time attendants that I had to hire after I got here. I probably put that together then. Modified it slightly for this one, updated it, but mainly the updates that I did to it were salary based upon what the airport's requested in the past and some things like that.
So theoretically, you put these numbers in for possibly the next fiscal year?
Yes, they are numbers that are in for the next fiscal year right now, yes. Now, I went ahead and put these numbers in for the next fiscal year for our budget, just for planning purposes. Of course, if that is not the way the board wants to go, we haven't even, I haven't even presented that budget to this board yet, so.
So you're showing, like on your proposal number 1, that over the proposed, I guess this is the proposed budget for the current budget for 2017-18, that it'd be an approximate increase of almost $32,000.
Yes,
that is to go to the second full time.
Yes.
In working with the budget and your viewing of it, where do you see that money coming from?
Right now, there's sufficient funds, because we don't have a lot, we've got sufficient funds with as long as our old pump is pumping out here and they're paying the way they're paying, we're getting about $12,000 a month, $10,000 to $12,000 a month on that. We have sufficient revenue to support this, especially with very minimal capital improvements. We don't have any capital improvements yet, except for, and it's more professional service for design of some taxiway improvements that would be part of our next FAA project.
I don't know if the board would be interested, but I'd be curious what our budget would look like if we were to pursue contract management of some sort, FBO or some other type of operation.
I think we'd be money ahead if we turned it over. Back at one time, Mr. Baker's father was the FBO, and the city didn't pay any salaries. I think if we had outside FBO, we would save a lot of money. We don't make that much on fuel, I don't believe.
Yeah, I figured up an estimate of $25,000 a year on fuel profit.
And our salaries top that at least over 100%. If we could get an FBO to take over the operation, I believe we'd be money ahead.
So do we want to, I don't know if this requires action, but do we want to have Godon present us something else to look at before we rule one way or the other on staffing?
I don't know that that would take action. It would, I have not studied that, so that would take time to try to put that together with good numbers and good alternatives and exactly what all that would look like.
Well, in my knowledge, and it is limited, as far as different way airports are run. I mean, we can continue as we have been, or we could look at going to the 2 full-time here. But there is, some airports I know do a contract manager. Some do a limited FBO and some do a full FBO. And, you know, that's at least 5 options that we could study. I mean, we may end up coming back to where we started, but those are venues that maybe we should look at to see if there's anything there to enhance our situation
And you can provide me with what
here.
would be some of the guidelines for a limited versus a full, because I'll be honest with you, I don't know, I'd have to do that research. If you've got that, then speed it up.
I can go to our neighbor Texas. Their Department of Transportation has outlined these very specifically.
Okay.
And they even have sample contracts and all that kind of stuff out. And
Okay.
do it. So that's one area, but there are other places around the country that do it, but it's something, we may not want to take it word for word like they
Right.
want, modify it
Just
to
give
our
us a start.
situation, but it gives you a starting point.
Yeah, no sense reinventing the wheel if somebody else has already done some work on it.
Do we want to table this item until next meeting until we can get some more information on other options?
Does that item
Item
change
11.
if we do that, or do we want to table this item, or do we just want to let this one, I'm getting back to it.
Oh, well, it's,
Okay.
or we can let it die without a motion.
I don't know if we need a motion.
Okay. We have no motion on item 11. So we'll go on to the next item. That takes us down to item 15. remarks and inquiries by airport board members. Anybody have anything? Okay. We'll go on to the next item, item 16, remarks and inquiries by citizens. Have any citizens that are questioning anything? Go ahead.
Yeah, John Weaver, I got two comments, or one question first. Has the contact numbers per year, not looking at just month specific, like February had 115 contacts, has it increased enough to warrant 2 employees? I mean, you know, been running this place with one person for a lot of years and it's worked very well. With the part-time help to fill in, because this guy can't work 7 days a week. Was this just an isolated incident that's causing this, or are we creating a problem that when there's really no problem? So I'm just gonna ask that to the board to really think about
Well,
what you're looking at here.
right, and we're considering that.
Okay.
It's something that's in our considerations.
Yeah. So my second, I'm gonna make a comment with a question at the end. I've been associated with this airport since I was a kid, because right across from the airport is our homestead. And this land was my grandpa's before it was the airport. So since 1994, I've had an airplane. I've been associated with this, having an airplane as an aviator. So I have an emotional, a business, and a pleasure purpose for coming to Alva. And now I have a home here. We're part-time residents here. And in all these years, so that's 20, do the math, that's 24 years that I've been professionally associated with this airport. My question to the board is, at this point, I've never seen such a bad relationship between the city, the airport, and the people at the airport. So my question to the board is, what's causing this? What's going on? Okay, this is from the guy that gets to fly in and be an outsider. But I'm an insider too, because I'm here part of the time. So I think introspectively, you guys need to look inside and say, what's going on at this airport that's starting to cause all this animosity and all this disgruntlement? This is a gem to Northwest Oklahoma. This used to be a place that people look forward to coming to. So what's causing that? Now, this is the question I have for the board president, is looking at the previous board consistency, who made it up. At this point on the airport board of 5 people, we have the mayor that self-appointed himself to a position. Now we have another board member who knows nothing about aviation. So 2 of the 5 members of this board don't know anything other than what they've learned since being on the board of aviation. Yet you've got plenty of members of the community that the mayor could have appointed to sit on this board that are aviators. If you look at the past consistency of this board, I think most of the time it was made up of aviators that made aviation decisions for an airport to the airport manager who took it to the city council. It seemed to work pretty good for a lot of years. So my question to the board is, I'm asking you guys to look into that introspectively and try to fix this. Thank you.
Anything else from any of the citizens? If not, we'll adjourn.